Welcome to Creativity Matters. With me today is Dr. John Best, who is Vice President Research and Development with one of the world's leading defence systems manufacturers, Thales. Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm very well.
Tell me a little bit about Thales and Thales in Australia.
Well, as you mentioned, Thales is a global entity operating in the defence, aerospace and security markets. Really at its heart is high-end electronics and electronic systems, systems that increasingly collect together and exploit vast amounts of information. I think if you wanted to consider a single tagline for what Thales does, we say that we deliver mission-critical systems to our customers, both defence and non-defence. And that tagline is equally applicable to what we do in Australia. In Australia, we strongly serve the defence markets. Some of our products that people may know of are things like the Bushmaster, protected mobility vehicle. It's serving and protecting Australian lives in Afghanistan, on a daily basis. We deliver defence communication systems and are currently delivering the first tactical internet protocol-based network to the Royal Australian Navy. We've upgraded the Navy's guided missile frigates. We manufacture ammunition and small arms for the Australian Defence Force. So really a very broad spectrum of activities, ranging from activities based in chemistry in our munitions area through to integration of high-end electronics and software. I guess some of the other activities we have here include our air traffic management business, where we design and deliver the air traffic management system that supports the Australian airspace. And we also export that into Southeast Asia and South America. Okay,
thank you. And here we are sitting in something called the attic.
The attic.
The attic. What does the attic do, and what is the attic?
Well, ATIC is it stands for the Australian Transformation and Innovation Centre, and it's a facility of which we're very proud. I think we're one of the few companies in Australia to have made this sort of investment. What ATIC is about trying to create an environment where we can create a virtual representation of the solutions that we might offer to our customer. And we do that for a number of reasons. I guess at a simplistic level, it's obviously a really good showcase for what we can do. But at another deeper level, and this is part of the reason why we use the term transformation in the name, is that we believe that this sort of facility can help our customers transform the way they do business. The solutions we're developing and offering are really about how we integrate and make better use of the information that it's available to people. And that can really completely change the way they do business. But really, if you're going to change the way you do business, what you want to do is you want to do that in an environment where if you fail, there aren't the dramatic consequences of doing it for real. And you can imagine for our military customers, that's doubly so. So what ATIC is about creating that environment where our customers can come in. They can experiment with how they might use the new technology and do business differently. And we have the opportunity to create scenarios where they do business the old way, or where they do business in some new way, or trial some new way, and they can compare the two. So that's why we think it's really a very important investment we've made, because I think moving forward it will be a really key part of our value proposition to customers in terms of being able to help them transform how they do business.
So what we're sitting in front of, these images that are occurring in the background, what do they represent and how are they working?
What we're sitting in at the moment is part of a demonstrator that we call Asimov, and it's to help us support the definition of what we call a mission system for a land vehicle. I mentioned before the Bushmaster. Now, Bushmaster provides excellent physical protection to soldiers, but increasingly people want to integrate electronic systems into that vehicle. So, for example, they want to integrate remote weapon stations so that they can fire their weapon without exposing soldiers to harm. They want to integrate sensors so that they can undertake surveillance of the surrounding area, again, under the protection of armour. They obviously need their communications. They want to have what we call command and control systems that allow them to plan their operations on a digital map. They want to communicate that plan via digital networking with other units on the battlefield. And what Asimov allows us to do is really create a virtual prototype of that sort of system. So what you're seeing around you is a synthetic representation of the environment within which the vehicle is, and also examples of some of these command and control systems and other information systems that we might look to integrate into the vehicle. And it provides the environment for end users, soldiers to come in and basically try before you buy, look at how it might change the way they do business.
So prototyping is a really important part of innovation in defence systems, is that right?
Absolutely. Well, I'd say not even in defence systems. I'd say, generally speaking, the act of experimentation is really one of the, is a key attribute of creativity. And I think it's one of the key methods for, achieving a creative outcome is basically to conceive of a concept, then trial the concept, and then, as you trial it, you learn more about the concept, about its constraints, about what works, what doesn't work, and that allows you to evolve to, in a direction that you may not even conceive in the first place.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I've discovered in working in the creative thinking skills is the amount of time and effort that weapons defence and defence forces in general put into creative thinking skills. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I've been fascinated by that, and it's more apparent when I look at the notion of simulation as to why this is so important. I mean, I feel as if I'm almost sitting in a video studio watching a feature film being made.
Well, that isn't too far from the truth. And actually, if you look at the staff in our attic, you'll find we have a large number of interns who are undergraduates at one of our local universities. And part of the rationale there is that they come from that generation that really embraces computer games and computer technology. The nexus between military simulation and gaming is one that's always been evident, and it's one that's getting increasingly more intertwined. There really is a technical convergence between the tools developed for military applications and for the entertainment industries. And I think if you actually, the simulation environment that's running behind you is actually it's a gaming engine called Virtual Battlespace 2, which people build games with. And we're applying it here to just about military problems. And I think that the military, and maybe people who haven't had a great deal of exposure to the military, don't fully appreciate the depth of thinking and the intellectual effort with which military thinkers think about how they do business. And they think about it from a number of levels. Technology is a key part of military thinking, but also, ultimately, I guess what you might call the psychology of warfare is a key part of the thinking. How you organise and motivate large teams of people to perform complex tasks in demanding environments. I think if you talk to military people enough, you'll often hear them talking about warfare as a battle of wills. And when it ultimately boils down to it, that's what it is. It's about demonstrating that your will to succeed exceeds the will of your opponent to succeed, and then ultimately that's when you achieve military victory.
Well, look, just to finish up, now that I can go back and talk to my 13-year-old twins about their World of Warcraft endeavours in a knowledgeable fashion, how might they look at weapons defence manufacturing 50 years' time from now? What will it be like? What will the tools of defence systems be like in 50 years' time?
That's I don't know if I want to speculate 50 years, because I think the time I've been involved in the defence industry, which is about 20 years, there's been just a tremendous revolution in terms of technology and how it's applied. But I think you'll find some underlying themes. I think that you'll see that the military will look to embrace all sorts of emergent technology across the board. I guess we've spoken today quite a lot about how we might want to exploit information technology through things like integrated mission systems in vehicles. So all of the technologies we're seeing there, both from the fundamental technology point of view, but I think also some of the social aspects that go around those technologies. Like, for example, we're obviously quite interested in the collaborative technologies, technologies like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and I think you'll find militaries continually asking themselves questions about how they can exploit those sorts of technologies, which really have that nexus between technology and human behaviour and how people like to work and do their work. So I think we'll see that as a key trend. Obviously, technologies will continue to evolve. Information technology will be increasingly pervasive. I'm sure you'll find that convergence between information technology and biotechnology will be an emergent theme. I couldn't really forecast what the outcome will be. I think all of these trends will find their way into the military. And of course, in some of these militaries, really, I guess through some of their classified programs, would be looking at technologies that are really at the cutting edge.
Well, look, John, it's been most informative, and I thank you very, very much indeed for your time.
Okay, it's my pleasure, Rob.
Thank you.